insane.
Wow, so your brain doesn't really know the difference between, say that again?
Between something that happened in real life or something that you strongly visualize.
Wow, it's the same reason why when we watch a movie or something, we're able to get lost in it.
Yeah.
We're able to believe in it because wow, so you could create enough of a visualization for yourself if you really were to powerfully start to focus on it and do that.
You already know what it is. It's your boy Laid Back with another reaction, another review, another episode. Hey, TikTok, you up to bat. Bah.
That bitch, I'm drowning up in it. Most of you niggas is lazy. Half of you niggas fugazi. Yeah, I be spitting that crack shit, cause I was born in the 80s.
It's your boy Laid Back. Welcome back to my channel. Hey, two things we gotta do. You gotta hit that subscribe button. I'm drinking this water. You already know what it is, man. You are the prize in 2025. You are the prize in 2025. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Stay up to date with all the videos. Hey, we back with another reaction. We got more conspiracy. This is gonna be crazy. So I'm just letting you know ahead of time. You make it to the end of this one, you a real one for real. Make sure you put that in the comments, but any comment is getting hearted, taking it back. Also, share this with the last person you text in your phone. If you a real one, I'm just saying, if you a real one. But let's go ahead and get into it. Fire Squad, what's popping? Let's get it.
And in the hybrid programs that I was associated with, they were cloning not only species like plants and animals, but they were also regenerating tissues of extraterrestrials and growing them and then cloning them. And then they started cloning humans a very long time ago. It's interesting now that in the news, after talking about this a few times, that now they're coming forward. China just has been doing it forever, but in their underground facilities, cloning people, cloning, of course, you heard about, they cloned their first primate. And hey, they can clone a primate. This verifies what I'm talking about. Well, they can definitely clone a human. And they're also growing humans for organs, but clones are everywhere. Human, extraterrestrial, they're wandering all over. You know, some people will refer to these as doppelgangers because they can grow a human to look like someone and mind program and implant them with circuitry and things like this. And they will really think they had this life and implant them into a business or into whatever organization they want.
Well, is there a hidden agenda? Because you've just brought something up that just scares the living daylights out of me. To replace us with a clone, and who would know the difference?
This is one of the probably only times, George, that you got me on a negative part, because there is an agenda. There are hundreds of people being cloned in underground facilities in Australia and in some parts of the United States. There's no reason to, clone people and keep it a secret and make horrible experiments on these people and mind implant them.
We're primarily concerned about humans cloning human for their own purpose.
Right.
But what about ETs cloning humans?
I mean, it's possible. I'm not aware of any extraterrestrials that are, cloning humans. I am aware of extraterrestrial beings that are collecting DNA from humans.
That's been ongoing.
Ongoing, but for a good reason, not for a bad reason. They can make anything too. I mean, they're already at an advanced level of science that we would not understand to do that if they needed to.
Is a clone, Emery, basically human being identical to the clone? And so they eat, they sleep, they do everything that a human does?
No, because they still have to go through the growing process. It's a lot of work.
You can't speed that up.
Well, they have sped it up. They can make a George Norrie in about 8 years, from baby to you.
Okay.
What?
The problem is the brain cannot grow that fast as the body can. There seems to be a problem they're having with the brains.
What's the agenda? What's the mission here?
Right.
The clone.
I don't know that agenda. I can just give you my opinion on it, that they would use it for a fear type thing, such as a fake alien invasion, definitely control, like a secret army, a secret group of assassins. It's very frightful just to know that they're doing this on a mass production conveyor belt is horrifying enough.
Man, do your own research. He said they cloning extraterrestrials. He said they can make a you in 8 years. That's nuts.
Is the world a dream? Is everything around us an illusion? created by some god to test us. Well, the modern version of that is the universe a computer game? Are we just dancing puppets, obeying the laws of some computer out there in the universe? Is everything basically a fake? Well, that theory got a tremendous boost with the Matrix series. Because in the Matrix, what we thought was real was actually a computer simulation put into our brain by aliens. And so reality as we knew it was all wrong. Is that possible? If you want to simulate the weather, for example, you have to simulate the motion of trillions upon trillions of atoms. No computer is that powerful that it can simulate the motion of trillions and trillions of atoms that just make up the atoms in this room. You can't do it.
This stuff here, man. Do your own research.
Understand politics. You think you understand political parties. You're all full of crap. You don't know what the Illuminati is. Is he Republican or you're Democrat? You're wrong. Why? It's this easy. It's called divide and conquer. That's why there's two parties and only two. And they're controlled by the same people at the very top who belong to the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderberger Group. They also belong to the Trilateral Commission, and you people don't even know what the hell that is. But if you did know, you would know that these are the people that control your world by making global policies that you never vote on, and by which parties both serve and belong to these organizations and control your world. Now, here's how it works. Really easy. Divide and conquer can only work if the people that are divided are not aware of the falsely created division. If you're not aware of it, then it works. If you know about it, then it don't work no more. If you have socialism without capitalism, it becomes communism. If you have capitalism without socialism, it becomes fascism. And it's just that easy. I love you. That's all you need to know. That's why Masonic symbols are all over your freaking money. But you don't pay attention.
This stuff is...
Is fluoride bad for us? That's what's being litigated in California right now in a major lawsuit that is not getting a lot of attention.
Fluoride exposure is associated with lower IQ in children. It couldn't be more clear as day as that. And that is what this whole case is revolving around. Can the Fluoride Action Network prove to Judge Edward Chin, as they've been trying for the last 2 weeks in San Francisco, to show him that the data proves that we have more than enough evidence, as the NTP, the government's own scientists, have said, fluoride has an association with lower IQ in children, specifically when pregnant mothers are consuming it, and of course postnatal. It has a very detrimental impact on our neurocognitive development. And so I actually, as you mentioned, have been in San Francisco the last 2 weeks, and I had the opportunity to interview 3 of the expert witnesses, 3 of the scientists that were presenting for the Fluoride Action Network. And if I could just briefly, I'd like to quote directly from them, because I'm not a scientist, I'm just a journalist myself. But I asked Dr. Howard Hu, for example, and he said, quote, "Yes, I would say that in my view, the evidence is quite persuasive that there is a negative impact of fluoride exposure on the neurodevelopment of children, particularly the research that's been coming out in prenatal exposure." And then I asked Dr. Bruce Lamphere the same question, and he said, quote, "Well, what we found, whether we looked at urinary fluoride levels from the mom as a measure or water fluoride, was that in every case we saw IQ deficits in the children."
Damn.
So this is why you're not hearing about this story, because this poison is in the water and your taxpayer dollars are paying for it. And there's elements of the US government trying to prevent this study from coming out. You know, of course we have other studies and other data, but they know that this study coming from the US government's own branch of scientists would be pretty powerful and pretty impactful. So instead they've done everything they can to prevent it from being released to the public. As the mother progresses through her pregnancy, by the 3rd trimester, as she's drinking more water and consuming more to feed her baby, if she's drinking fluoridated water, she's increasing the amount of fluoride in her body. It stores in her bones, and then as her baby starts to form its skeletal structure, it's going to pull all that fluoride right out of mom's bones into its body, pass through the blood-brain barrier into the placenta, and it's showing that there is an impact on cognitive development. The people who are, let's say, lower socioeconomic status, don't have extra cash to spend, they're going to be the ones who are most impacted by this, because you are showering it, you're cooking in it, you're drinking it. If you're eating processed foods, it more than likely has fluoridated water. When you go out to eat at a restaurant, more than likely has fluoridated water being given to you. And fluoride is also in pesticides. So it's not just, this case is focused on water fluoridation, but there's actually so many different exposures that, at least in the United States, that we're all facing.
There is a 100% probability that our sun generating what they call a GMD, which is a solar storm, that hits our Earth and the magnetic field that we have around the Earth and can fry everything that is electric above the ground, including our entire grid.
And this would happen organically, naturally? That's just what the sun does?
It has happened. There was they call it a Carrington event, which happened in, I think it was 1859. And at that time, basically we had telegraph lines, that as far as electricity goes. And it fried our entire telegraph system.
What?
It was set up, had to be replaced. And
the entire thing?
The entire thing. And so imagine what that would do now with a very large storm, which there's a 100% chance of it happening. That was a 100-year event, they call that one. And
I'm not good at math, but
the trillions of dollars that it would take to replace all that, plus we wouldn't even get to spend those trillions of dollars, because it would take out not only the electricity, but all of our entire infrastructure and our society runs on electricity. We don't know how to live without it. You turn on, there wouldn't be any water in your tap. There wouldn't. You couldn't get gas for your car because the whole system is broken down. Everything that we rely upon would be gone. The food would melt in our refrigerators. There would be, and they predict within a year, about 90% of the population would be dead from starvation, disease, or, people, it gets back to the Stone Age again.
Bruh, what?
No, I don't like you people to use chemicals. We use natural food.
Yeah.
Which heals. Can I tell you?
Yeah.
This is produced by chemicals.
It is. It's very true.
You are putting chemicals in your body. When you say it, you don't care what will happen. You are saying, I'm wearing a good shirt.
Yeah.
That's a problem. That you are practicing witchcraft on your body yourself with your mind. So people don't think about that.
And Fisi, but they tell me it's breathable and it's got air-wicking pockets and it's sweat-proof.
What about this?
I mean, that's just gazelle, right? That's just one gazelle skin.
He said that's just a gazelle skin.
They used to train their military staff to get out of their body and go remote view the Soviets to gain access to secret, information. Remote viewing has its roots in military, right? And really? So remote viewing is cool in particular because there's something called scientific remote viewing, which means that you could do a blind test or a double blind test, which means that you get coordinates and those coordinates link you to a location. So that can be proven, right? You can be alone in a room, get these coordinates that mean nothing at all, and then link that to a location and then prove that, yes, you are indeed getting out of your body, going to a location and seeing what's there at that location.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So where they do that? That's in the where?
I really do not like Hollywood.
What?
It is not for me. The business really scares me. I understand that I'm a part of that business and I enjoy my kind of interactions with it. But that said, I am always looking for ways to kind of remove myself from it, to kind of just live as normal a life as possible. Today, doing this is a very rare thing for me to do. Yeah, I definitely think it has been an ongoing thought, which is don't lose yourself. I've seen so many people come before me and lose themselves, and I've had friends that I've grown up with that aren't friends of mine anymore because they've lost themselves to this business. And I just am really, really keen to focus on what makes me happy, which is my family, it's my friends, it's my carpentry, my golf, the charity that my mum runs. That is the stuff that makes me really happy, and that's the stuff that I should protect. My relationship is the thing that I keep most sacred. I don't talk about it. I try my best to keep it as private as possible. We both feel very strongly that that is the healthiest way for us to move on as a couple. So I do try to keep as removed from it as possible. You'll never see me at an award show that I don't have to be at. I'm never going to a red carpet event that I'm not in the film of, I don't want the attention when I don't need it.
I respect that. I completely respect that.
This reality that we're living in is an illusion. We have the illusion of solidity. Everything is really a frequency. Everything is made of light, and light is also a frequency, right? So this microphone in front of me looks like a solid object. As a matter of fact, it looks like I'm actually touching it, but I never actually touched this mic. What happens is this mic is made up of a wave of potentials. They're in superposition of each other, okay? And when I look down at this mic, my consciousness collapses those waves into the illusion of solidity. It's light waves slowed down. My brain has a capability, and your brain has a capability of creating a collapsing frequency wave that collapses this into what appears to be a solid object. When I touch it, I don't even touch it. You never touch anything. The electromagnetic frequency of the electrons orbiting the atoms in your fingers are repelling the electrons orbiting the atoms in the microphone. Okay, so you don't even touch anything. That's electromagnetic repulsion. This whole world, this whole realm, just like the ancients say, is a dream world, sleepy time. This is an illusion. And what Nikola Tesla is saying, when we begin to understand the nature of reality is frequency and vibration, and through different frequencies and vibrations, you can create a realm known as our universe.
That stuff, man.
De Niro's building a $1 billion studio. How is that going to make money? What's the business plan? Is it over 30 years? That's my question.
De Niro's 81, isn't he? Like, what? How old is De Niro?
But that's what I'm saying. In the rating system of Hollywood, PG-13, rated R, which rating is the most profitable?
I would say PG.
Wrong. It's G. The children's films that are animated stories like Cinderella are the most profitable in all of Hollywood, and yet they're 30% of the production. So why would the system make 70% of something that doesn't make as much as the 30%? Why? Because it's spiritual. Because the devil runs Hollywood. And he wants that negative 70% to teach your kids all these other things. But the 30%, which makes the most money, is happiness and loving your mom and dad, and they make the most money. Why would Hollywood make less of the most profitable?
That is a very good question.
There's not a chance in hell that this is funny. When you see those flat, corny, late-night monologue jokes, Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, Fallon, what they're doing is just like reading off of a teleprompter. There's applause signs, and then there's producers. There's the warm-up guy that's literally telling people to clap. They're like, okay, explaining to the people, okay, when Jimmy comes out, I want a big round of applause. Let's practice this right now. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Fallon. Yeah, and everybody claps.
They practice it.
Yes.
Of course, it's TV production.
Do you think our history is a lie? Well, I do. What if I told you this was Chicago in the early 1900s? Would you believe me? It seems right. Horse and buggy, old buildings, not paved roads. That's what I guess Chicago looks like. But what if I told you that this picture is also Chicago, but from the 1800s? Something doesn't add up, right? Because these pictures and a whole lot of other ones are taken from the 1893 Chicago World's Fair.
What?
Pictures so glorious, you can't even begin to imagine how this was built in the late 1800s. And not only did they have these buildings in the late 1800s, but they literally said that they were taken down after the World's Fair and they were just created for that fair. You're trying to tell me that they spent thousands of man-hours building these incredible structures just to be temporary for a World's Fair? These things weren't made out of paper mache. These are legitimate concrete structures. Well, I don't believe it. I think there's something else going on here, something much more nefarious. You see, I think they burned them down. I think they took them down because they didn't want any evidence left. Evidence of a prior civilization, a civilization with advanced technology that they want to keep hidden from us. Technology that could be free and abundant because it harnesses the ether and the free energy all around us.
Yo, this stuff is, I ain't never seen that.
Not that I needed proof it existed, but the location of the Ark of the Covenant has officially been found. This is where the 2 tablets of the 10 Commandments are being kept, but something about this just feels off to me, and this is why. The CIA confirmed the location and existence of this through remote viewing. Now, they're saying that this is being safeguarded by entities of unknown power, and this is a declassified CIA document. Now, personally, when I hear remote viewing, I proceed with caution. If you don't know what this is people who claim to see and describe things without personally seeing it. They use extrasensory perception. It's basically sidekicks who can describe what's happening in another part of the world without physically seeing it. What's interesting about this is the CIA and military actually funded a top secret program called Project Stargate, gathering sidekicks to use remote viewing for military strategies, and some people in the past were weirdly accurate, but eventually the program got shut down. In my opinion, it's just hard to believe. But in 1988, the viewer was tasked with the Ark of the Covenant, and this is how he described it. The target is protected by entities and can only be opened by those who are authorized to do so. This container will and cannot be opened until the time is deemed correct. Once it is time to open the container, the mechanics of the lock system will be found to be fairly simple. They said this before adding a warning to potential plunderers. Individuals opening the container by prying or striking are destroyed by the container's protectors through the use of a power unknown to us.
Whoa.
That's wild. They said the purpose of the target is to bring people together. It has something to do with ceremony, memory, homage, the resurrection. There's an aspect of spirituality, information, lessons, and historical knowledge far beyond what we know now.
That remote viewing stuff is wild.
Not everybody you meet is a human being. Watch this.
I don't know who's going to get this, but one day, me and my homie, we was in the car and we was just talking about being spiritual beings, right? And how on the other side of this 3D, like in the different dimensions, how we're beings of light, right? And I was telling him how I was able to discern like different people. I don't know how I'm able to do it, but I can just see somebody and know that they're not a person. I don't know. But nonetheless, we were in the car, we were at the park, we was talking, right? And I was telling him how I can see, or I can tell when people aren't really like people. At this same exact time, there was this lady that was walking by, or she was walking towards like the car, right? Now, she wasn't walking towards the car, but she was walking, mind you, it's a park, so she was walking her dog. And as I'm telling him this, right, she comes and approaches the car, like she approaches the window. And she says, "Hey, what are you guys listening to?" Mind you, we were listening to music, we were just chilling in the car. This older white lady, she doesn't, I don't know who she is, right? But I'm telling bruh at this same time that I'm able to see or able to recognize demons or people that are not human. And then she walks up to the car. We tell her like, it was just a random song or whatever, but she says, "Oh, okay." And then she walks off and continues her walk down. I said, "Bruh, that was one of them." Legit. I said, "Bruh, that was one of them." And I kid you not, bruh, I felt like the tears in my eyes because I had no other explanation, but I knew that she knew that I knew.
Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, thank you for watching. Stay weird.
I don't know, bro. I don't know about that one.
This is how you know that Hollywood is fucked up, because they hid the dark truth in this Friction movie and nobody noticed. Just watch.
Professor, my cells are reproducing at a phenomenal speed, several million per second. I'm having trouble precisely evaluating the time of my data will last more than 24 hours.
What are you talking about?
What I'm saying is that your theory is not a theory. I absorbed a large quantity of synthetic CPH4 that will allow me to use 100% of my cerebral capacity. Right now I'm at 28%. And what she wrote is true. Once the brain reaches 20%, it opens up and expands the rest. There are no more obstacles. They fall away like dominoes. I'm colonizing my own brain.
Wasn't that the exact same thing that this human biologist said on his podcast before it got shut down?
Most people, especially young people, probably don't realize that they're walking around right now at about 55%, maybe 60% of their true state of normal. There is a nutrient, an amino acid, a substrate, a compound, an element missing from their body that if they knew what it was, would make the difference between them being an average person and being a superhuman.
What supplement can I take? Don't end your sentence there, Gary.
So it's called L-theanine.
But it doesn't even end here, because I came across this Shark Tank episode that completely proved everything he was talking about. Just listen.
We used a blend of natural caffeine plus L-theanine and B6 and B12 vitamins in each piece. Each piece contains as much caffeine as half a cup of coffee.
How long does it take to be effective?
5 to 10 minutes. So the people who try our product really love it.
Ryan, I gotta tell you, I am so friggin' hyper right now.
Yes, let's go!
This is what they were chewing on, and it's called Neurogun. It has a mix of caffeine, L-theanine, and some B vitamins. L-theanine is an amino acid that makes your brain work at the highest level. I chew a couple of pieces, and after like 5 minutes, I'm in this workflow state. It's legit like that movie Limitless. Like, I get so much shit done, it's like nothing exists for 5 hours. All distractions just melt away, and I'm just laser focused on the task in hand. And the best part about this is that it's cheaper than Addies. However, if there's one downside about this stuff, is that because they're such a popular brand with a bunch of 5-star reviews, they always go out of stock. But if you do see an orange cart in one of these corners right here, they might have some left.
I ain't never heard of no shit like that.
In this industry, what you must understand is when you do sell your soul, you are allowed to live forever. And these people that are called youngins, rookies, new booties, I would no idea that these people still live. They will prey, haunt, kidnap, anything to stay on top. This is their world. They have nothing but time is what they believe.
Now, who are we talking about?
We're talking about everyone that's supposed to be dead. Like there is
in the industry.
In the industry.
Okay.
You know, when you walk around with the fake face and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna open up. It's like this is not. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that since World War I, we've been taught by the Indians and all this other how to take skin people and wear their faces to infiltrate the families and this, that, and the other. This is something that has been going on since World War I and before that. So now we've conquered the art of exchanging spirits, trading spirits. So,
damn. Ideas versus access.
The thing I would say is, when you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use.
Yeah.
And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will you push in, something will pop out the other side.
Right.
You can change it. You can mold it. That's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off.
I like that. I like that perspective.
Now, you said something on social media the other day that outer space is the ocean.
Right.
Explain that.
I can't do it.
You can't explain it?
I can explain it, but I don't want to explain it on camera.
Is it one of those things where it's just like, we don't know what's up there and we don't know what's down there?
Kinda.
The ocean is the new outer space.
Straight up.
It is?
Yeah, you know these guys who died, they were explorers like Christopher Columbus and all that.
And they do have life forms under the ocean right now in the trenches that we are yet to see. We haven't seen near some of the life forms that have been out there. Your blood has the flora and the fauna of the land in it. It means that the DNA of all the life forms on the land is in your DNA because you've been here for 20, 30,000 years. They can't say the same thing.
Okay.
Maybe most actors that I know have terrible lives. I don't just mean because they don't make any money, like most actors don't make any money. I mean, their personal lives are just get wrecked, and more so than my friends who are in other industries.
Well, think about what they do all day. The focus of their life is on them and being in front of a screen, and then on a big screen where everybody can clap and tell you how great you are. And everybody around you probably, to not get pushed off the team, is telling you what you want to hear. And your life is so focused on you. Think about all the marriages. Like, it's a joke. People say if you last 10 years in Hollywood, that's like year, 75 years in real life, because and then you spend half your year away from each other, filming love scenes with other women. How on earth is that going to work? In a beautiful tropical island with alcohol.
Yeah.
But it'll work.
In essentially summer camp, because film sets it's like summer camp. I mean, it's this whole group of new people. It's a very intense experience. You're there forever. So you can see how that can go off the rail.
Yeah, I can see how it can go way off the rail.
All our society is run by insane people for insane objectives. You know? And I think that's what I sussed when I was 16 and 12 way down the line, but I expressed it differently all through my life. It's the same thing I'm expressing all the time, but now I can put it into that sentence that I think we're being run by maniacs for maniacal ends. You know? If anybody can put on paper what our government and the American government, etc., and the Russian, what they are actually trying to do, you know, and what they think they're doing, I'd be very pleased to know what they think they're doing. I think they're all insane, you know, but I'm liable to be put away as insane for expressing that. You know, that's what's insane about
You insane for thinking they insane.
Wow, so your brain doesn't really know the difference between, say that again?
Between something that happened in real life or something that you strongly visualize.
Wow, it's the same reason why when we watch a movie or something, we're able to get lost in it.
Yeah.
We're able to believe in it because wow, so you could create enough of a visualization for yourself if you really were to powerfully start to focus on it and do that and build that ability to visualize something that your brain at one point would have to think it's so true that the world would meet you and put it into your life.
I love the way you put that.
Wow.
I agree with that.
What's television? Television. And then what do you get? You get programming. And even if you watch now, like I'm watching, like on some of the satellite stuff I watch, it says commercial break, programming will continue. Yeah. Like you're being programmed. They're telling you you're being programmed. And it's like, when I woke up to that, I was like, it's right in front of you on my face and I can't see it. Like, why can't I see this? It's not that we're stupid. It's not that we're not smart. It's just that we don't have perspective. When you're trying to explain something this big and how much we've been deceived to the population, it's very hard to not sound like you're out of your mind.
Right.
Because when you start bringing up these things, it's very easily twisted.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television.
Birth rates have suddenly gone off a cliff.
The population and its decline because people are not having kids.
Yes.
What's the overview?
So all over the world, and certainly in the U.S. and in Europe, it's most visible in Europe and in East Asia. Birth rates have suddenly gone off a cliff. I mean, the South Korean birth rate now is barely 1/3 of replacement level. And there doesn't seem to be a bottom to this. And I mean, it's really stunning in that it's happening across every culture, or every religion, every ethnicity. The only thing that the countries have in common, attitudes towards women are different in these countries. The only things that these countries have in common is that they're wealthy.
So you're saying, and now that I think about it, it's probably true, the birth rate in South Korea is lower than the birth rate in North Korea.
That's a great question, but probably true. I haven't looked, but yes.
I wonder if there's a clearer indicator of the health of a society than its birth rate.
I mean, it's certainly hard to square that with a healthy society, or not a lot of anxiety among young people, and the idea that this is happening in wealthy societies, but it doesn't seem to be driven by economics because, there's still pockets of high fertility for ultra-Orthodox Jews and various other religious sects, and those people are very rarely wealthy. So it's not a problem of lack of abundance.
Right. It's caused by abundance. The richer you are, the fewer kids you have.
Although at the very top, certainly in places like New York City,
there's Elon.
No, you see this where there's a little bit.
I'm trying my best.
Kids is a luxury good at the very, very top, but not broadly. So this is something I'm just beginning to explore. I know you want me to make some grand pronouncements about it, but I find it fascinating. It's obviously fascinating to readers.
Because I wonder what's more important than reproducing.
Right. Well, I mean, my joke is it's the future of humanity is at stake. Now, obviously, we're not going to get to zero anytime soon, but it's pretty striking. And somebody said to me yesterday, well, it's about the Earth's carrying capacity, and that's just nonsense. I mean, we can support far more than 8 billion people with current
I wonder, though, you hear a lot of chatter about, depopulation strategy. I don't know if it's a strategy. I doubt it was hammered out at, Davos or anything, but clearly there's a depopulation instinct.
Right.
Yeah, that's what's so bizarre, right?
Clearly.
Let's
look at the effects. I mean, if you cared about your country, you'd want people to have kids, right? Do you want grandchildren?
Of course.
Because you love your children.
Right.
So if you loved your population, you'd want them to have kids.
I mean, I agree. It seems like a very basic idea that a healthy society at least retains its population.
Right.
And, the countries in East Asia are already beginning to shrink, amazingly. Now, Taiwan is shrinking. I mean, it's... And as Elon said to me, this was a few months ago, he said, you can make it very complicated demographically, but it's actually very simple. Multiply the current level of births right now by 85, and that's what the population will be in 85 years, assuming the trend doesn't continue.
Right.
So for a country like Taiwan, they have 130,000 births this year. They have 23 million people. 85 times 130,000 is about 10 million. So that when I say they're not close to replacement level, I mean they're not close to replacement level.
They're going extinct.
Well, I mean, if that continued at that level, you would be, you'd be down 90% in 100 years.
Damn.
I mean,
it's
pretty stunning. I look, these things can reverse. You look at, popularly the baby boom, post World War II. There were tremendous, growth in population in the U.S. and Japan and other countries. So these things can reverse, but there's no sign it's even stopping.
That is very interesting.
Did you know that words are spells? That's why we learn spelling in school. The English language was purposefully manipulated in order to keep us disconnected from the words that we are speaking. To write is to perform a rite, and a rite is a ritual. So every time you write a sentence, you are sentencing someone to your spell. Every sound that we speak has an energetic footprint and meaning. When we visualize, we are using our visual eyes to see different realms. When you say bless you, you are saying be less you, be less you. You're casting a spell for them to be less. You have to be in a weekdays to make it through the weekdays. And by weekend, you are so weakened. And when you talk, you are creating a Taurus energy field. Sound vibrations leave the body in the form of magnetism. Magnetism is magic. Magic influencing matter.
Bro, y'all might want to rewind that one.
People with darker skin, people from maybe Africa or India or South Asia, the more equatorial regions. They're closer to the equator and there's more UVB radiation throughout the year. And so as a protective mechanism to not get burned, you have melanin, which protects you, right? The problem is that melanin also blocks your ability to produce vitamin D. But if you're out in the sun all the time, in a place where you're getting UVB radiation, it's not a problem.
Well, this is the very reason why people in places like Scotland and England have such pale skin.
Exactly.
It's cloudy all the time, so your body sort of develops its own ability to absorb more vitamin
D. So what happens when you take what happens when you take a person from South Asia, from India, from Africa, and you put them in Sweden or in Minnesota or in the UK, a place where UVB radiation doesn't hit most of the year, and you don't give them a supplement? What happens is they become severely vitamin D deficient. Severely. Okay, what happens when you take the guy from the UK, the Brit, and put him in Australia, like without any sunscreen or without a hat or never? They're gonna,
Dang, yeah. That's real.
Building was powder. But amazingly, they found this passport that proved their narrative. Oh, and
so
there's more.
This year, we did a 2-episode series on 9/11 to go backwards, because I was a child, and to show people. We found these old clips and showed them. Do you realize how much we were lied to about 9/11? Like, it's just unbelievable. When you look back at everything they told. Astounding. And then the things that they ignored that happened that day, and the presence of the Mossad that was there, and they just never really answered the question. And just
Tower 7?
Tower 7 was very clearly just dropped to the, come on.
You cannot explain that away.
Black people sold black people, white people just paid for it. My great-great-grandmother was sold by her father to another black man, who then sold her to who became her husband and had kids. Not a white person in sight. Well, so while people are being stuck on, especially when I hear this dumbass thing as reparations for slavery, I'm like, dude, slavery was everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
There was slavery in the Arab world, in the Persian world, in the Greek world, in Europe. White, blonde, blue-eyed Polish people were slaves to Germans. So white, blonde, blue-eyed Germans. So what are you talking about? Like slavery is something that only black... You guys play too much respect to racism.
Yeah.
If we were all white or we were all black, we're still going to discriminate against each other.
You know what we discriminate against? Eye color.
Thank you very much.
It's human nature.
It's human nature.
Yeah.
We'll find something, oh, your ear is too big. I tell people, as long as you're a competition, you're a threat. And as long as you're a threat, somebody will try to do something to remove you. It doesn't matter if you're white or black. And on the opposite side, as long as you can add value, doesn't matter if you're black or if you're white, you will be appreciated or recognized.
I disagree with that.
CIA likes to hire people with anxiety. It likes people that have a natural set of anxious or paranoid wiring in their head, because those are people who are already more naturally cued for details, observable changes in their environment. So then all they have to do is train you to control your anxiety, and they get all the benefits of you already naturally being paranoid. So the way that they train us to overcome our anxiety is to basically say, okay, you can't control all of this, but as you shrink the circle, you increase control exponentially. So you can't control what your neighbor is doing 2 buildings away right now in their living room. You have no control over that. But when you shrink it to what you're doing in your living room right now, you have almost total control. That's what we do at CIA all the time. You can't control the surveillance team, but you can control your movements. And when you control your movements, you'll be able to spot the surveillance team, which then gives you a chance to increase your nexus of control. And when you can see that you have surveillance, you can count how many surveillance and describe them. You increase your nexus of control. If you try to start here, it's never going to happen. Shrink it down, grow it from there. The way that we're trained to overcome anxiety.
I like that.
Now, children are exposed to education if their parents are wise and healthy, i.e. if their parents are wise men and wise women, children get educated. If they're not, they get indoctrinated. There's a big difference. Our education system teaches people what to think, not how to think. If you study the history of our education system, Ken Wilber goes into this quite deeply if you want a resource. Our education system is still the exact system that was developed by warlords and plantation owners to control slaves. It was developed specifically to keep the kids busy so they could get more works out of the slaves, more hours out of them, and to train the children not to be creative, not to think for themselves, and to follow orders.
I ain't really never liked school.
But a friend of ours, who will remain nameless, went there.
Yeah.
Got to go on a cool experience, trip, etc. And he said a couple interesting things. He said the mountains looked eerily pointy and four-sided. He said way more mountainous than he thought it would be. I think the illusion, maybe from looking at maps and watching penguins.
By the way, you can see
flat
mountains. You can see mountains on the Orontius Phineas map. Actually.
Oh, is that what the little etchings
around the
are?
edges there?
Interesting.
Those are mountains.
Now, he also said this. He said a couple things. He said there is a pact with every country that has a slice of it that they will not dig or remove any minerals from Antarctica. And he even said that a scientist was there, said to them, World War III will not start until one of these countries breaks that pact. They are clearly protecting or preserving something that may or may not be under, I believe it's 3 miles, Mark was saying earlier, at its thickest of ice.
3 miles of ice is crazy.
There ain't nobody convincing me that we are the advanced civilization. This is a photo of New York from the 1900s, and today we're specifically going to talk about this tower right here, the Gillinder. They literally started construction on this building in 1896, and they finished building it in 1897, just a year later.
Damn.
Apparently this was built with hammer and chisel and horse and carriage, and it was built within a year. Now, this megalithic tower was literally demolished in 1910, only 13 years after it was built. Now, answer me this. Why would such a beautifully architecturally designed building that only took them a year to build in 1896, why would it be destroyed and demolished 13 years later in 1910? Because 1910 was literally 2 years before John D. Rockefeller literally changed the world. So what do you think, beautiful people? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Was this just a random construction that needed to be demolished 13 years later? Or did they demolish this because it had a hidden truth that they didn't want us to know about? Obviously, this was just for entertainment, beautiful people, and I was fictional as a dinosaur, baby.
I don't know why shit is what. To be honest.
So right now, like, the Illuminati is falling. Like, right now, Hollywood is dying. And it's really clear to see. Like, we've got Diddy, but we've got, Epstein, Weinstein, like, all of this sort of corruption is coming to light. And, I think I mentioned this before, but influencers are sort of taking the space now of celebrities, and the Illuminati can't recruit new members anymore.
Yeah.
So this is a really good thing that we're seeing. But I think a lot of people who are fangirls for these celebrities are going to be really disappointed to realize who their, crushes and whatever idols are.
Yeah. So you think the members will start getting exposed?
I think so. I mean, ideally, I would love to see, a big A-list celebrity shapeshift in front of a million people.
That'd be nuts.
That would be full disclosure, like in an instant of what they've been doing this whole time. So for me, like, that's the hope I'm holding. But I think that we're going to get kind of more of a slower rollout, like we've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, this Illuminati stuff.
This rapper exposes how dark Hollywood really is.
The song was so big, and they told me I had to kind of sacrifice something. They said, you're gonna have to pay it back because put this information out there, this is gonna put people in the wrong mindset of what we're trying to do in society. So they told me that if I don't do these list of things, then they're going to hurt my family or hurt people that I really care about. And they told me to go to this office. It was on Wilshire Boulevard in Los Angeles. And then when I went in, I asked them over the phone, what are they gonna have me do? They said they couldn't tell me. And then when I went into the office, they sat me down and it was like an all white room, and they opened one of the doors and it had a Gucci suit, a bodysuit. And I said, oh no, please don't tell me that is what I think it is. They said, yeah, it's exactly what you think it is, pal. And I said, no, please no, not the Gucci suit. They said, it's the Gucci suit. This is the only way that you can repay for what you've done. And I said, not the Gucci suit, please.
So who knows if the Gucci suit thing is real? But if you've heard the song he's talking about, they definitely don't want that kind of message out. Hollywood and the industry want as much negative music out as possible. So anything that goes against that, they don't want. As always, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. Stay weird.
What they talking about with the Gucci suit, though? I don't know what that means.
So there's this satellite image from the ESA 7 satellite. This was in 1968. And it was like the first visual of Earth via satellite, or like a composite of it.
Yeah.
But look at, and was stationed over the North Pole. And this is the picture that they released.
What the heck?
And they talked about, it's just the composite images that they all put together, and the North Pole wasn't captured. Right? Okay, well then this was from Google Earth in like the early 2000s. Send this to you.
What?
It's the hole to the center of the Earth.
And then this was released by NASA, I believe, in the 80s or 90s.
You guys,
all separate.
Go home.
Holy moly, dude.
That's
Literally.
actually unsettling.
So where's Santa?
But does it not look, if you compare it to that first map,
it's identical.
And people talk about.
And what year was that map? That was like the 1600s?
Yeah.
Gosh, man.
Yeah, and people have talked about, like, apparently NASA, but they've taken it back, or they've like scrubbed it or something. They talked about, like, it was really hard to find the image, but there was this obscure image that people like zoomed in of the Earth, and at the top there was literally a black stone sticking out, like at the top of the world.
Oh my gosh.
A black stone.
And it's like the same as this freaking map, bro. Like
Guys,
literally
these mysteries of the world.
That's like we're never gonna know.
We will. I believe we'll know in heaven.
Eventually.
I
Oh
believe.
yeah, but I'm saying like, it's just because
Yeah.
people will say, of course, there's nothing there. Like you just go. Like, people have gone there. It's like, well, we don't know.
You know,
that. We don't-
flight plan or flight paths. You're not allowed to fly over
Is it
the North
restricted?
Pole. Yeah, because I mean, probably because it's the most harsh climate, but
Yeah.
still,
Right.
people don't fly over the North Pole.
Yeah.
But Admiral Byrd did.
Admiral Byrd.
We've
Yeah.
talked about him a lot too.
Yeah.
He
Good
did,
name for a pilot.
Yeah, he's associated with a ton of stuff, like even the Project Fishbowl. He was involved in the Operation High Jump.
Was he the guy that had the heart attack in Antarctica?
No, that was Buzz Aldrin.
Oh.
Admiral Byrd, this was like shortly after World War II. He was sent with an armada. The Navy sent this whole armada of battleships to the Antarctic. Super weird stuff. And it was just to explore, but it was all weaponized. And so the theory is that he went out there to seek out Nazi hideouts in Antarctica.
Yeah.
So he explored that, said that there's some crazy stuff there. And then he also did an exploration to the North Pole. And this is where this is the conspiracy part.
Okay.
Because apparently he had, and we've talked about it before, I believe, but his secret diary that only he had. And then when he died, his son got it. And then when his son was trying to publish the stuff in it, he died, like under very mysterious circumstances. But Admiral Byrd talks about in this secret diary, allegedly that he wrote, people think that it's fake, that when he went to explore the North Pole, there was an entry to inner Earth, like hollow Earth.
And that would make sense with this big old hole.
It would. And he describes it as being in the Earth, lush green land beyond the ice, mammoth-like creatures, a technology-advanced civilization.
What?
And meeting with a being called the Master, who warns humanity about nuclear weapons.
Wow.
So this is where it gets a little like,
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
But it sounds like the little green children.
Yeah, I know. That's what I thought about as the green kids.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That literally backs up that story. That's so fun to think about. A giant hole that has a whole different world. I mean, yeah, dude.
It's all
I'm just
freaking
thinking
me.
like sci-fi. So the possibility of sci-fi movies right now are just endless.
Gosh.
But apparently this master gave Admiral Byrd this message. It's a long message. But at one point he says to Admiral Byrd, you see, we have never interfered before in your race's wars of barbarity,
Wow.
but now we must, for you have learned to tamper with a certain power that is not for man, namely the atomic energy. Our emissaries have already delivered messages to the powers of your world, and yet they do not heed. You have been chosen to witness here that our world does exist. You see, our culture and science is many thousands of years beyond your race.
Wow.
You, my son, must return to the surface of the world with this message.
Cool.
And then he died.
Dang. All right, guys, that was another TikTok compilation. Crazy. There's a lot of stuff in there. It's a lot of stuff to unpack. You made it this far, though. You a real one for real. Make sure you put that in the comments. You got to put that in the comments because this one right here, it was all over the place. Antarctica, the programming in the kids, the old architectures, and then they would break them. The truth. What is the truth? You know what I'm saying? So take care of yourself. You already know self-love and positivity, but this stuff here, it be having you thinking. I mean, it be having me thinking. Let me just put that out there for me. It be having me thinking like, what's really real and what's not? Where's the truth at? But look, till next time, man, self-love and positivity. Fire Squad, I got you and you know it.